Hi everyone, I'm Crystal McGregor with the Food Island Partnership, and I'm so excited to be joined here with Mike Beamish and Greg Beamish. We're here at the Hazel Grove Sugar Shack, and we're going to see how they get that delicious maple. Let's go check it out.
Spring, I think, before things
Oh, I know.
See some of the drops coming out, so it's running slow.
Wow.
But the right, weather conditions, and it'll come out pretty steady.
Wow.
He uses individual buckets, so he'll come along and dump them into a big one.
Yeah.
And pump it up to the sugar shack. And you can see a few of the trees where they're close.
Yep.
He runs a little tubing between them. And he'll run that into a big bucket. So instead of having one on each tree, some of the trees you can see it's got a little tap. And it runs over the line.
Wow.
Yeah, just to save effort.
A real tree would be 40 to 1. If you have all sugar maples in the running crop. Most of the time it's at 60 to 1.
60? Okay. Great. So, you dump 60 of these sap and you end up with that amount of one syrup. So it's
amazing.
We just slowly got into it. We started, 8 or 9 years ago, 5 or 10 taps, and every year we slowly got more and more and play with it a little bit every year, and it all slowly comes together.
Yeah. What kind of challenges did you guys have?
A while ago we had a few hundred pails on the trees, and we're having a hard time getting through the snow, snowshoes and buckets, bringing it all back. So that kind of spurred on the tubing, make things a lot easier. Just go to one point, pump it up.
And where did you learn about the tubing? Just doing your own research, or?
Yeah, just own research. Seen a couple other bigger sugar bushes, and they made it look easy. So try and bring it here.
What would you have for your best advice if somebody wanted to start their own, making their own maple syrup?
Well, just start, I guess. Yeah. Just start, watch it happen, try.
To ask, what's your favorite thing to put maple syrup on?
My favorite thing, geez, in my coffee, I guess.
Oh.
Talk about new products. So the one we do is in collaboration with the distillery.
Right.
So when we go there, we can
talk about that one.
I'll show you how we make a Brandy barrel-aged maple syrup.
Oh, delicious. Can't wait. And we are here now in the Maple Shack, and Greg is going to walk us through how they get that delicious maple. Now, it is a scientific process. Greg, how do you do it?
Well, once I get the sap from the trees, I haul it back up here. I have a tank sitting outside. It'll come in the wall here, goes in my float box, and keeps this pan at a certain level. It'll be boiling quite hard, and as the syrup gets heavier and thicker, more towards syrup, works its way around the machine and works into this finishing pan. I'll spend most of its time in this finishing pan, and once it hits the right temperature, I crack that valve, put it through a few filters, and pack it up and take it to the clean kitchen for packaging.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how long does this whole process take?
It all depends on how much sap I have, I guess. This machine, it'll boil off about 100 liters of water an hour. So I usually start boiling when I have a tank full of 1,000 liters, and it takes me all day into the night, and just have friends stopping by to keep me company.
Nice. We're right at the Deep Roots Distillery. So Mike, tell us a little bit about this lovely gazebo. Tell us about your orchard here. What can we expect when we come visit?
Yeah, so we put this gazebo up last summer, and our idea is that we'll have private tours. People can come and basically we call our tour Roots to Bottle.
Oh, love it.
We call it tour Roots to Bottle. So we come out into the orchard, we see how we grow the apples. I talk about some of the unique things we have done for the varieties that we grow. Yeah. And how we take those fruit and crush them, make our juice, and turn it into alcohol.
Okay.
Our signature product is our apple brandy.
I heard that's award-winning.
Award-winning apple brandy, and that's the whole reason we started this business. To use a lot of our excess apples. Now it's grown into its own business, so part of that tour is we'll have people here to be able to sample some of our products, and in amongst the apple trees and where that fruit has been grown or is growing in all the summers.
Great. What kind of variety? You said you had a couple of apple varieties. Which ones do you have?
Yeah, so when we planted, it's been a hobby farm from the beginning.
Yeah.
And our goal was to have a much reduced reliance on pesticides as we could. So we planted only what they call disease-free varieties of apples. And they're not common names. You probably may not see them in the grocery store. We got Liberty, Red Free, Novamac, Freedom. And so we're able to reduce some of our reliance on chemicals.
Oh, great. Well, let's go into the distillery and check out these great products. Come on.
Good.
Here we are behind the scenes at Deep Root Distillery. Mike, give us a tour. What are we seeing here?
Yeah, well, we're seeing lots of stuff because we're jam-packed and we're working on an expansion initiative right now. But we've got some very fun projects that we engaged in this past winter, and this is one we're really anxious to get out to the market as soon as possible. It's our entry into the ready-to-drink cocktail arena, which is pretty full,
Yeah.
but we believe we're bringing some very unique and creative products to it. And so we're branding our cocktails 5 o'clock ready.
Okay, perfect.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere. And this first one we're calling Island Mule.
Like the Moscow Mule?
Okay.
Okay,
So we
tell us
were
about
ready
this.
to release it about 3 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And we had sent the labels to get printed, and we put the brakes on it when everything happened.
Right.
And we said, we really can't in good conscience, when you look at the TV images, we can't put something out with. We felt it wasn't, we weren't comfortable putting Moscow Mule on a new product.
Right.
So we said, you know what? We live in PEI, we have a great island,
Yeah.
and we're a little bit different, so Island Mule. And in fact, our first release, we're donating $1 from each can to the relief fund. So yeah,
To
that'll be our
Ukraine,
entry.
Well, don't worry, we'll tell you when that's ready to
So,
be released.
so basically, you know, we operated a hobby orchard, and we did that. We sold apples for many years.
Yeah.
And we were getting kind of tired of the U-pick, you know, area. And I retired. I retired in 2012, and I was looking for something different to do. And also something to do with the apples that you lose to the ground. In the fall, you get some wind, you lose a lot of apples. And in Canada, the health regulations are that we can't make juice using apples that have fallen to the ground.
Okay.
Unless we pasteurize the juice. And a pasteurizer is quite expensive. So for a small producer, it didn't make sense to invest in a pasteurizer. It's a little bit of juice we could make. By chance, I happened to read somewhere that said if you ferment and distill, and distilling being the key, your juice, you can use any apple.
Okay.
Because alcohol above 17% kills bacteria. So they're not worried about bacteria. So we said, well, distillery and use our excess apples to make alcohol. And that's where our apple brandy comes from.
All right.
We collect our apples off the tree, off the ground, as long as they're in good shape. We don't take anything that's rotten or buggy. But you know, about 70% of the apples that fall are in perfect shape. So we collect those, crush them, make a juice, ferment it, distill it, age it, and we have our apple brandy.
Well, what a great way to be sustainable and prevent food waste. I just love
Yeah,
it.
call it a brandy barrel-aged maple syrup.
Yes.
So it's not a new idea. It's being done other sugar shacks around Quebec and Vermont, and where they will take some syrup, they'll buy used bourbon barrels and age it. And we said, well, we run a distillery. We make apple brandy, and our apple brandy went to play. Okay, and we age it 2 years. And then we take the brandy out, we filter it and bottle it. And the first year we did that, well, we had an empty barrel. And Greg and I said, well, let's fill it with maple syrup, and we'll make our own barrel aged. So we call it our brandy barrel aged maple syrup.
Nice.
So the syrup that we put in there, we let it sit about between 6 and 8 months. And it grabs a little bit of residual brandy that's been sitting in the wood, and gets some of that oaky flavor and some of that flavor from the wood.
Wow.
And but that's our product. Yeah, so after about 8 months, we take the syrup out, and again we filter it, we bottle it, and label it.
You also have absinthe. I wouldn't have expected to see that today. Tell us more about it.
Okay, so our son Paul had the idea to create absinthe. He used to enjoy it himself. So he did a lot of research to come up with one of the original recipes. And in Canada, we're allowed to use wormwood, and wormwood is the herb that gave it its infamy. So wormwood has traces of a hallucinogenic compound in it. So of course, people would think back in the 1800s when it became popular that there would be a much better artist or philosopher or whatever they would drink this. So, and in most of the cafes in Paris, you know, in the mid 1800s, early 1900s. They would have a fountain, typically a lot more elaborate than this, but a fountain of some sort that holds ice water, and it had a series of taps, and that would be on the middle of the table. And they would pour the absinthe in a glass, And all the different cafes would have their own spoon, typically some kind of mystic design on it. Lay it across and then place 1 or 2 sugar cubes on the spoon underneath the tap. The water drips slowly on the sugar cube, so dissolving the sugar and going into the drink. So they were basically adding water and sugar. They could have easily taken a teaspoon of sugar and a cup of ice water, blended it, and you'd have the same drink. But it was part of the experience.
Right.
Sitting around the table with their colleagues. And it is a gold medal winning product,
Nice.
which we're quite proud of. But we still had quite a few apples left over. And as I said, we're getting out of the apple sales business.
Right.
There's a lot of other orchards doing that. And we've been thinking about apple cider for a few years, hard cider. And we started work about 2.5 years ago. Greg started the work on this to create a hard cider. And when he was trying to come up with the name, I mean, that's one of the big things. You wanted to be attractive in the marketplace. And so he was raising pigs that you saw this morning. And his first female had her first litter. And Greg was out helping, and the mother was agitated afterwards. You could tell there was something not right. She was upset with something, and she was stomping, and she injured one of the little piglets, and she was getting worried that she'd do more damage by mistake. It wasn't on purpose. So he took her out, and he called the people he bought the breeding pair from, and they said that's not uncommon, especially with that breed. At their first litter, they don't really know what's going on. The mother gets kind of upset. And she said, go to the liquor store and buy a bottle of hard cider and put it in her water dish.
Oh.
He did that, and she calmed down and turned into motherhood, and everything was great from then on.
Wow, that's
And yeah. So when he was looking for a name for the cider, that just kind of came to the top of his mind, Little Pig Cidery. And you'll notice with all of our products, where we can, we use real ingredients. So sometimes you see, people are a bit concerned with a little bit of stuff on the top. Well, that's the oil from the lemon. So we actually buy lemons, peel them by hand, soak them in alcohol. So it's the real lemon and it's the oil from the lemon, and that's what you're going to get when you have that kind of a product.
Nice.
And so our biggest seller has been our maple liqueur, and that's again, we use real syrup for our flavoring, and then we do a spiced apples from our orchard, and our apple brandy, of course, also award-winning, and that's from our apples, 100%. And we've done a few interesting projects, and one of them is our gin. So, 1.5 years ago, we ventured into the gin market. We made a little sample batch, but it didn't really suit our taste. It was a bit strong on the flavor. And so we set it in the tank, and we said one day we'll get back to playing with it and make some changes. But things get busy, and it just kind of sat there. And there was a meadery in Canoe Cove called Canoe Cove Meadery that closed about 1.5 years ago. And they had some left. They had some mead still in a tank. They hadn't bottled it yet, and so they were looking to sell that to another processor. And so, because as a distillery, I have to ferment something to create a certain amount of alcohol. Then I distill it to concentrate the alcohol to make a spirit. So they approached me, and I bought their bulk mead, and I distilled it. And one of the mead they had was a beet mead.
Oh.
And it was a beet mead. So we distilled it. We had a nice clean alcohol. Not much of a beet taste, but a slight little aroma. And we said, geez, let's just, what happens? We take some of our gin that we didn't really like, and we blended them, and oh, geez, it really smoothed out our gin flavor. And so that's what we did. So we salvaged our gin using the alcohol that we distilled out of their beet mead.
Oh,
so
really
we come
great.
up with honey of a gin. I guess what I brought to the table was some tenacity. There's always often roadblocks, and not purposely roadblocks, just you run into these little things that you got to work around, and not be afraid to contact the people that can help you. In PEI, we're very fortunate. Food Island Partnership, we got the Canada's Smartest Kitchen, we got the Biofood Tech Center. There's phenomenal amount of expertise that we can grab in PEI, and I've been able to use most of that in different degrees.
Awesome.
And it's
So what would you say if there's somebody out there who's looking at you saying, oh, Mike, I want to be like you? What's the best piece of advice you would give them?
Well, would have to be just go for it. I'm not sure how else to, you know, like I know when I started this, it was like, geez, you know, liquor license, you know, you got to get inspected by CFIA. Like it was just, you know, I said, you know what, take it a little piece at a time, and again, tap into the people that are around. You know, people at the Liquor Commission offer support and ideas, and people in you know, in government. There's lots of stuff out there. You just have to be willing to go and ask, and don't get an answer that works. Well, ask somebody else or ask it a different way. You know, sort of to keep at it.
Oh,
and
great.
you know, if it's something you want to do, and do it because you enjoy doing it. Not simply to make money, because probably you know, you're going to get tired of whatever it is you're undertaking if it's simply to generate the revenue. But if it's something you enjoy doing, you know, you may be able to sort of develop a passion for this. It's something I enjoy doing, and I enjoy talking about it. And I think that's what's helped make us successful.
Yeah, that's really good sound advice. We
Yeah.
really appreciate your time today, Mike. Now, where can we buy your product?
Yeah.
How can we book a tour so other people could come and experience this for themselves?
Yeah, so we sell our product here at the distillery mid-June till the end of October.
Okay.
We keep regular hours, and we post those hours on our website and our social media. And we also maintain the stall at the Charlottetown Farmers Market. We sell all of Greg's maple syrup products, all of our distillery products at our stall. And we also open here by appointment. So if somebody who's here and they're just here for the weekend and they want to come out, well, we take appointments. And all of our contact info is on our website, as well as how to book a tour. So you can get that info on our website.
Great. So check them out at deeprootsdistillery.com. We hope to see you here.